So this is a comparison that I forgot to do here. The S24 Ultra versus the S22. So if you have an S22 Ultra, should you upgrade to the new S24? Is it worth it with the improvements here? And it really depends, because a lot of these improvements I don't think are really that significant, but there definitely are, I think, some improvements here for sure. So let's go ahead and get started here. Now, the S22 Ultra you can find for $400 in the used refurbished marketplace. The S24, of course, is going to be, $1,000+. So it's a very expensive phone. Now, Samsung does have trade-ins that will cut the cost a little bit, but you're still going to pay a pretty good amount of money. So one of the first differences with these two phones is there are slight design differences here. Samsung is using the titanium, frame on here, and it does make the phone feel a little bit lighter, which is, I think, really cool. They're both IP68 dust and water resistant, and they're both glass and metal phones. One thing you'll notice about the design is that the S24 is a little bit more squared, and the S22 is a little bit more curved when it comes to the overall body. But everything else is essentially the same here for the most part here. So it does, I do think the S24 is a little bit more comfortable to hold. Now, they're both that kind of boxy, phones that kind of cut into the palm. But I do think like squaring this off a little bit more makes it a little bit easier to hold and not, kind of like drop it. So, I think that there is a slight design improvement here, but I think the titanium thing is not really that big of a deal. Mine hasn't really scratched up too much. But I don't think the titanium is like a huge deal. Alright, so let's talk about the displays on both of these phones. So the first thing that will pop out is that the S24 has a completely flat panel and the S22 has a curved display. Now, it comes down to which panel you like better. You like that kind of curved look. Now, the thing with the flat panel, which a lot of people liked, is that the flat panel is easier to apply the screen protectors and stuff like that. But besides that, it's just people like the look, and they say it's overall you don't get accidental touches and stuff like that, which again I understand, but I've never had really those issues with the S22. So as far as the overall specs are almost pretty much identical. It's a 6.8-inch display on both 1440p, both 120 Hz HDR10 plus. The difference here is that you have a higher max brightness on the S24 at 2600 nits, and then on the S22 it's 1750 nits. So basically, I did a YouTube short about this. If you go ahead and watch that, you can just see outdoors the S24 is going to be a little bit brighter in direct sunlight. Again, that could be a benefit. And also, one thing that you'll notice, it's very minor, but if you look at the bottom here, the S24 does have slimmer bezels at the bottom, so it is visually a little bit more appealing as well too. And that is pretty much it. Like I said, they're both 500 ppi, so they're both very sharp, essentially the same color, so you're gonna get pretty much the same experience when it comes to displays. So if those upgrades don't really intrigue you, like the higher max brightness and all that stuff, and slimmer bezels and stuff, this is all very minor stuff. It's not really a big thing. But yeah, so those are the upgrades. Essentially, like I said, it's a very small upgrade. Alright, let's talk about speed and software. Both of these phones are running the One UI 6.1 update. They essentially have the same software, so there's really no difference when it comes to the features. Now, they both have the Galaxy AI features as well too, which is a big thing that I was pretty surprised when Samsung brought these features to the older phones, because they were supposed to be exclusive to the S24, but Samsung brought them, so you get all of the same features except one feature, and that is going to be the slow-mo feature. So I'll show you guys what that looks like briefly. And essentially what you do here is you just tap and it'll slow the video down for you with just holding it down, which I think is it's pretty cool. But everything else is here, so that's really nice. Like I said, you have the same S Pen features as well too on these devices. Now, as far as the S Pens go, if you're into digital artwork, and I don't, draw on my phone and stuff like that, but they feel identical to me when it comes to the overall speed here. So I can't really tell the difference in terms of the input. Like maybe the S24 is faster on paper, but like I said, I'm not a digital artist. They feel almost exactly the same to me. But yeah, so if you're a digital artist, I think you'll be fine with both of these phones. Alright, so let's talk about the specs here. So the S22 has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. This version is 256 gigs and 12 gigs of RAM. The S24 here, it does have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and this one is 512 gigs, 12 gigs of RAM. Alright, so you can see the big difference in score here. Now the S24 is a much more powerful phone when it comes to specs and benchmarks and stuff like that. But when it comes to the overall like usage of the phones, like realistically, they are essentially going to feel the same. Now I don't want to say that there's not a significant performance upgrade here, because there is. It's not going to be in speed though. It's actually going to be when you are playing games and when you're doing more intensive tasks. The S24 is way cooler, and like I said, it's a little bit faster when it comes to like launching apps and stuff like that, but I don't think it's faster to the point where you'll notice a significant difference. But when we're talking about it not heating up, this phone does not heat up anywhere close to the S22 Ultra. So this phone rarely gets hot for me. Even if you're doing like intense stuff, like of course it'll get warm, but it's not getting like hot or like like kind of warm like the S22 Ultra. And again, I've never had the Ultra like crash on me or anything like that, the S22. But yeah, that's one thing that I noticed. The cooling is just so much better on the S24. So if you're like a power user, this could be an upgrade for you. But again, it really depends. But can I really say that's a significant upgrade? Like I said, it depends. But you guys see how blazing fast the S24 is. It's really, really fast. It got in there. It got in PUBG like it was nothing. Alright, so gaming performance on the S22 Ultra is still very good. And again, essentially no difference here. You got, HDR Extreme on here, and you got Extreme Plus on here, PUBG at 90 frames. And it's the same thing for the S24. Again, it just gets a little bit... It's just a little bit cooler when you're gaming for longer periods of time. Oh, we got the Ultra Extreme update on here. So you do have better settings on the S24 Ultra right now. And this is just a setting that it could come to the S22 Ultra eventually. But right now you got the 120 frames on the on PUBG for the S24. But yeah, so both phones do a great job of gaming. Obviously, the S24 is the better gaming device. It's more powerful, and also the cooling is better. But yeah, if you're not a big gamer, I don't think it really matters. And when it comes to just overall speed and performance, yeah, you might have to wait 1 or 2 seconds, to get into games or whatever. But that really is up to you, like how much you game and stuff like that. All right, so we got both speakers at max volume. We'll start with the S22. So it's very obvious the S24 has way better speakers. The clarity, it's way louder. Very impressive speakers on the S24, and I think it's a very good upgrade as far as speakers go. The S22 Ultra is not terrible, but it's just nowhere near as loud, and the bass is not as clear, and it just doesn't sound anywhere near as good. So great upgrade from Samsung when it comes to the speakers. So I thought that was a really good upgrade there. And then also the fingerprint scanner has been essentially the same for years now. The ultrasonic works perfectly the same. Alright, so there are some new camera improvements here. So you do have some new camera improvements here. So the first thing that you will see is that the S22 Ultra has a 200 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3 times optical, and a 50 megapixel periscope telephoto with 5 times optical, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and 8K 24 or 30 video, which is really awesome. And then you also have a 12 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. The S22 Ultra has a 108 megapixel main lens, and then a 10 megapixel telephoto, 3 times optical zoom with a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto with 10 times optical zoom, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and 8K 24. 40 megapixel selfie with 4K 60. So very good specs on both. Check out the side-by-side stills and video. Let me know what you guys thought. Is there a significant upgrade here? So I think this is probably one of the best upgrades here, and it is going to be battery life. The S24 Ultra has much better battery life. It's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Well, they both actually have 5,000 milliamp hour batteries. They both have 45 watt charging and wireless and reverse wireless charging. The big difference here is that the chipset in the S24 is just so much more optimized, and it just makes for a way better battery experience. The battery life is very noticeably better on the S24. Now, what's interesting about the S22 Ultra here is that the One UI 6.1 update actually really helped the battery life on here. Standby time is really good on here now, and screen on time it's still, similar to how it was, but it's much better. I noticed that standby time was significantly better. I remember I would leave this phone and in a day it would kind of die or kind of be close to dead. But now you can kind of leave this phone alone and the standby doesn't drain the battery completely. So I was really happy with that actual update there. But yeah, the screen on time is going to be better on the S24 for sure. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys in the next one.